In February 2024, Kruthika and Mahendra were filming their pre-wedding video in Jammu and Kashmir, Dal Lake, Gulmarg, Sonamarg. Every frame captured the essence of love between them. They uploaded it on YouTube for the world to see. On May 26, 2024, they got married in a grand wedding worth more than $200,000 at Mantra Kalyana Mantapa in Bengaluru. Friends and family celebrated. Nobody suspected that this fairy tale had a dark ending written into it. This is Criminally Curious. And you are watching a haunting story of two lovers and two successful doctors, Dr. Kruthika Reddy and Dr. Mahendra Reddy. A case so disturbing that even senior police officers said they had never seen anything like it. A crime where medical knowledge became a weapon. A betrayal so deep that it fooled an entire family for 6 long months. Kruthika came from a wealthy, educated family. Her father, K. Muni Reddy, was a retired electrical engineer turned successful businessman. So he owned multiple commercial properties in Marathahali that generated $10,000 to $15,000 every month, just in rent. And her mother, Sujanya, was a lawyer. Kruthika had an elder sister too. Her name was Nikita, and she was a radiologist. Kruthika herself was brilliant. She completed her MBBS, and then she did her MD in dermatology in Riker. After that, she followed it up with a DNB in dermatology, venereology, and leprosy. Before marriage, she was working as a skin specialist at Victoria Hospital in Bengaluru. On the other hand, Mahendra was equally accomplished on paper. He was also an MBBS doctor, who also completed an MS in gastrosurgery. First, he worked as a surgical resident at the Institute of Gastroenterology Sciences and Organ Transplant. Then he also switched to Victoria Hospital, and that is where he met Kruthika. Both doctors. Both were from well-off families. It seemed like a match made in heaven. Kruthika's father loved his daughters deeply. He had built 2 separate houses for them, each worth more than $300,000, so they could live comfortably after marriage. Kruthika's house was a 5-story, 1,500 square foot property in Ayappa layout, Marathahali. Almost like a palace by any standard. After the wedding, Kruthika first moved to Mahendra's family home in Ganjur, and a few months later they shifted to the house her father had gifted them. Kruthika stopped going to the hospital because she had her dream of opening her own dermatology clinic. She even gave it a name, Skin and Scalp. Her father invested money to build this and handled permissions. Everything was ready. The opening was scheduled for May 4th, 2025. But Kruthika would never see that day. Just 12 days before the clinic was supposed to open, something terrible happened in the family. On April 21st, 2025, Kruthika called Mahendra from home. She was alone. Mahendra was at the hospital. She told him she had severe stomach pain. Now, Kruthika did have some chronic health issues. She had low blood pressure, gastric problems, digestive issues, and sometimes low sugar. These were minor problems, nothing life-threatening. But that day, the pain was unbearable. So Mahendra came home urgently. He examined her. And then he did something that would later raise alarm bells. He inserted a cannula into her right leg instead of her hand. If you know what a cannula is, you know that it's an IV line that stays inserted, so patients do not have to be pricked repeatedly. And usually it goes on the arm or the back of the hand, because that way it is safer, less painful, easier to manage. But if you put it in the leg, it makes walking difficult. Plus, it is uncomfortable and medically unusual. But Mahendra, for some reason, insisted. He started administering IV fluids and injections through that cannula. When Kruthik asked, he told her it was for her gastric problem. And she had all the reason to trust him. After all, he was a gastric surgeon and her husband. Why would she doubt him? The next day, April 22nd, Mahendra took Kruthika to her parents' home. He said he would be at the hospital and did not want her to be alone. Kruthika seemed stable at her parents' place and felt better. Mahendra left for work, and as usual, he returned in the evening and gave her medicines. Normal routine. On April 23rd, Kruthika was still at her parents' home, and she was preparing for her clinic launch. She drafted a prescription list for medicines and sent it to her sister and brother-in-law. After that, she had dinner with her parents, fed the family dog. But there was one problem. The cannula in her leg was causing her pain. She was literally limping, but never told anybody, almost ignoring it. Only her father noticed. During lunch, he saw her struggling. He told her to remove it immediately, but Kruthika hesitated. Mahendra had strictly told her not to remove it. She was afraid he might get angry. So first, she texted him on WhatsApp instead, asking if she could take it out. But his reply was firm. Do not remove it. I will come in the evening and give you the final dose. Then everything will be fine. That evening, around 9 p.m., Mahendra arrived at Kruthika's parents' home in Marathahalli, Bengaluru. Kruthika was getting ready to sleep, and as per routine, Mahendra gave her the prescribed medicines. This was the last day of the course, he said. By around 9:30 p.m., the couple went to their separate rooms, and Kruthika fell asleep like a baby. But little did she know that she would never wake up again from this sleep. The next morning, April 24th, 2025, Mahendra woke up at his usual time. He noticed Kruthika had not woken up. That was strange. He went to her room. He tried to wake her. No response. Instead, her body was cold. She was not breathing. Panicked, Mahendra called his mother-in-law, Sujanya. The clock struck 7:30 in the morning. He said Kruthika was not responding, and he was taking her to the hospital. He also asked her to come immediately. Meanwhile, Sujanya told her husband and informed their elder daughter, Nikita, about the news. The family rushed to Kaveri Hospital in Marathahalli, only to find out a nightmare. The doctors had already examined Kruthika, and they declared her dead. Everyone was in shock. How could this happen? She was fine just yesterday. But there was one thing strange. Right there. When Kruthika's parents reached the hospital, they were in a state of panic. They had not even bathed. They had rushed out the moment they got the call. But Mahendra looked perfectly fresh. He had bathed, neatly dressed, almost too composed for someone whose wife had just died. Isn't that weird? At first, everyone assumed it was a natural death. Everyone knew about Kruthika's chronic health issues. Maybe her chronic conditions had worsened. Maybe something went wrong internally. The family was devastated. Mahendra was heartbroken. As this death was sudden and unexplained, it became a medico-legal case. That meant the police had to be informed. A post-mortem needed to be done. But Mahendra did not want any of these. He tried to convince Kruthika's parents not to allow an autopsy. He said Kruthika had suffered enough during her life. She did not deserve to have her body cut open now. Her parents agreed too. No parents ever want their daughter's body to be disturbed even after death. But Kruthika's sister, Dr. Nikita, disagreed. She was a radiologist. She understood medical procedures, and something about this death did not feel right to her. She knew that even if Kruthika had health issues, they were not severe enough to cause sudden death overnight. So it was Nikita only who insisted on a post-mortem, and she fought with her own family, convinced them. Eventually they agreed, but to everyone's surprise, Mahendra looked visibly disturbed when the autopsy began. He kept trying to enter the post-mortem room. He was crying. He said he wanted to see his wife one last time. His behavior was so disruptive that the doctors could not work properly. They had to ask the police to remove him from the room temporarily. However, after the examination, the initial post-mortem report came out, and it showed nothing suspicious. No clear cause of death. Somehow the family felt relieved. At least there was no foul play. At least Kruthika had not suffered. Her body was handed over to the family. She was cremated, and life slowly moved on. But case never just ended like that. Here also, the doctors had preserved several viscera samples. These are samples of internal organs sent to the forensic science laboratory for detailed testing. This process usually takes a month or more, sometimes even longer if there is no urgency. Since everyone believed it was a natural death, nobody followed up urgently either. The police also did not press for results, so months passed quietly. Meanwhile, Mahendra could not stay in Bengaluru anymore. He said every corner of the city reminded him of Kruthika. So he moved to Manipal in Udupi district and started working at a hospital there as a gastric surgeon. But he stayed in touch with Kruthika's parents. He called them occasionally, met them sometimes. He would ask about the case, like any perfect husband would do. 3 months after Kruthika's death, her father, Muni Reddy, made a painful decision. He could not enter the house he had built for his daughter. The memories were too much. Every room reminded him of her dreams, her laughter, her plans for the future. So he decided to donate the house for spiritual use, performing spiritual performances like bhajan and kirtan. He hoped that wherever Kruthika's soul was, it might find peace. Sometimes Muni Reddy and his wife also joined the bhajan sessions. It gave them some comfort, and that way 3 more months passed. But on October 13th, 2025, nearly 6 months after Kruthika's death, something happened again that changed everything. The police finally received the viscera report from the forensic science laboratory, and what it revealed shocked everyone. The report showed that Kruthika's death was not natural. It was caused by an overdose of something poisonous. Propofol? Propofol is an extremely strong medicine that's given through the patient's vein to make him sleep during surgery. Doctors are only allowed to give it in small and measured amounts based on the patient's weight, age, and health. If someone gets more than that, even by mistake, it becomes so risky that it can stop the person from breathing, leading to death. But Kruthika never had any surgery, so she had never been treated with anesthesia. Then why was it in her system? And why was the quantity so high? Kruthika's sister Nikita was the first to understand what had happened. She immediately went to the police and dropped a bombshell. She said her sister had been murdered, and the killer was none other than Dr. Mahendra Reddy, her sister's husband. So the investigation began immediately. Mahendra was arrested from Manipal on October 14th, 2025, and brought back to Marathahalli for questioning. At first, he stuck to his story. Kruthika had died due to her illnesses. He had been treating her at home because he was a gastric surgeon. He claimed it was just an unfortunate medical complication. Nothing more. But the police were not convinced. They had the viscera report as the evidence. They knew propofol does not just appear in someone's body unless someone injects in the body, and Mahendra was the only one who had been giving Kruthika injections. Under intense interrogation, Mahendra finally broke down and admitted to something chilling, something nobody even expected. He said that he had killed Kruthika, but the reasons he gave behind that shocked everyone even more than the crime itself. Mahendra claimed that he had not been told about Kruthika's serious medical conditions before marriage. He said that after learning about her chronic illnesses, he became frustrated. He said her constant health problems had made his life stressful, and he could not handle it anymore. More specifically, he did not want to live with a sick wife. He said that if he took her to parties and she ate something and vomited, his friends would laugh. He felt humiliated because of her. But this entire picture got upside down when Kruthika's father's version entered. He said a completely different story that took everything in an entirely different direction. According to him, Mahendra had been asking for money. Large amounts. He wanted to open a big hospital and a grand clinic. So he kept asking Mooney Reddy to fund it. But Mooney Reddy had advised him to first gain experience at Kruthika's clinic. They would think about a hospital later. But Mahendra was not satisfied. He wanted money immediately. And when the family refused to give more funds, he probably decided to take revenge in the worst way possible. By killing Kruthika. But the case was becoming even more complicated than this, because there was a third angle too. During the investigation, police found that Mahendra had 2 mobile phones. One was normal, the other was secret. And that secret phone unfolded a new drama. In that second phone, the police found something disturbing. Mahendra had been in contact with multiple women, around 6 female friends. He used to chat with them, call them. Some of these relationships were old, some were new. One of the most shocking discoveries came from his digital forensics. After Kruthika's death, Mahendra had sent a message to a woman he had once courted before marriage. The message was not sent through WhatsApp or Messenger or Instagram. He used PhonePe, a digital payment app, to text her. It was hidden in the notes section of a small money transfer. The message read something wild. "I killed my wife for you." When the police interrogated the woman, she said she thought he was lying, and it was just another manipulative attempt of Mahendra to talk to her. That's why she had blocked him on every platform, and as a result, he used PhonePe to reach her. So when he texted her those chilling words, she did not believe him. She thought it was just another twisted way of trying to reconnect. But what's even crazier, Mahendra had sent similar messages to 4 or 5 other women. Women he had once proposed to. Women who had rejected him. After Kruthika's death, he contacted them saying his wife was now gone. So he wanted a second chance at marriage. When the police dug deeper into this and found those women, one of them told police something even more disturbing and cinematic as well. Before marrying Kruthika, Mahendra had faked his own death. He made his father call this woman and tell her that Mahendra had died in an accident. And a year later, he called her again. He said he was alive. That time he said that, according to his astrological chart, his first wife was destined to die. Clearly, it looked like he had been planning this all along. Finally, the police investigation revealed the full extent of Mahendra's planning. This was not a crime of passion. This was not a sudden moment of rage. This was a carefully calculated murder. Mahendra had been planning it since October 2024, just 5 months into the marriage. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew how propofol works. He knew how much would be lethal. He also knew how long it stays in the body. Propofol has a unique property. Its first half-life is about 40 minutes. That means 25% of it gets eliminated in the first 40 minutes. Then the second half-life is about 7 hours. 50% of it is gone by then. Within 24 to 48 hours, it can be almost 100% eliminated from the body. Mahendra used this knowledge to his advantage. He gave her a lethal dose late at night on April 23rd. By the time he took Kruthika to the hospital the next morning, several hours had already passed, at least more than 7 hours. A significant amount of the drug, more than 50%, had already been eliminated. That is why the initial post-mortem showed nothing. The drug was barely detectable, but here Mahendra made one critical mistake. He did not think about the viscera samples. These samples preserve tissues and fluids that are tested much more thoroughly at the forensic science laboratory. Even trace amounts of drugs can be detected, and that is exactly what happened. The FSL report confirmed the presence of propofol in high quantities. The police also discovered how Mahendra had obtained the drug, because propofol is not something you would get from the public medicine shops. It is a controlled substance only used in hospitals during surgeries. Plus, it requires proper authorization. But since Mahendra was a surgeon, he had access to it. Plus, his family ran a pharmacy called Balaji Medicals. They also had a surgical distribution agency, so overall getting propofol was not difficult for him. And even if he could not get it directly, his twin brother Nagendra helped him procure it. Yes, there was another person involved. Mahendra's twin brother Nagendra Reddy. Police investigation revealed that Nagendra had supplied the propofol to Mahendra. Both brothers had criminal cases against them from 2018, including cheating, assault, intimidation. Nagendra had married a woman in a temple ceremony without legally registering it. He lived with her for a while and then left. The woman filed a complaint, and the case dragged on for years. And here's the oddly surprising part. On April 23rd, 2025, the very evening Mahendra gave Kruthika the final lethal dose, there was a settlement in that case. Nagendra and Mahendra paid more than $5,500 to close it. This could not be a coincidence, right? Or did getting free from one case give Mahendra the confidence to commit another crime? The police pieced together Mahendra's entire plan. He had been slowly poisoning Kruthika for months. He wanted her death to look natural. He waited for moments when she felt unwell. Then he would step in as the caring husband and doctor. He would treat her at home, give her medicines to make sure she trusted him completely. On April 21st, he inserted the cannula in her leg, not because she needed it, but because it gave him direct access to her bloodstream. When it's on leg, he could inject anything he wanted without her knowledge. Over the next 2 days, he gave her small doses of propofol. He was experimenting. He wanted to know exactly how much would be enough. How much would kill her without raising immediate suspicion? On April 23rd, he gave her the final dose, a dose large enough to cause respiratory arrest, large enough to ensure she would not wake up, and then he went to sleep in a separate room, because he knew what's about to happen in her room. The next morning, he took his time. He bathed, he dressed. He made sure several hours had passed so that the drug would start dissipating. Then he called his mother-in-law. He acted panicked. He rushed Kruthika to the hospital, but he knew she was already gone beyond saving. Remember when the post-mortem was suggested, Mahendra was the first to oppose it? He tried to convince everyone that it was unnecessary. He even did emotional manipulation by saying that Kruthika had suffered enough, and he did not want her body to be cut open. He almost succeeded, but Nikita stood firm. She insisted on the autopsy. Even then, Mahendra tried to delay it. He said do it tomorrow, not today. He knew that every hour that passed would reduce the chances of detecting propofol. During the autopsy, he kept trying to enter the room, not because he loved his wife, but because he wanted to disrupt the process. He wanted to distract the doctors, but his plan failed. The viscera samples were preserved. They were sent to the FSL, and 6 months later the truth came out. On October 16th, police took Mahendra back to the house in Ayappa layout. They recovered the cannula, syringes, and the injection vials, seized the home DVR that stored CCTV footage. They took Mahendra's mobile phones and laptop in custody, alongside Kruthika's phone as well. What's striking was that Mahendra had turned Kruthika's room into a makeshift clinic. It was filled with medicines. Medicines that had no business being in a dermatologist's home. The evidence was overwhelming. Mahendra had no way out, so he confessed to everything, from murder planning to why he actually did it. He admitted that he did not want to live with Kruthika. He only wanted her property. Apart from that, he wanted to marry someone else. Clearly, even in custody, Mahendra had no guilt, no remorse. He only justified his actions, blamed Kruthika for having health issues, and blamed her family for not giving him enough money. The case shocked the medical community. Doctors with decades of experience said they had never seen anything like this. Mahendra is now in custody, charged for murder. His career and reputation are gone. Kruthika never got to open her clinic or live her dreams. She died just 11 months into her marriage, at the hands of the man she trusted the most. Her father, Muni Reddy, donated their house to ESCON and started scholarships for girls who want to study medicine but can't afford it. He said, that's how his daughter's name will live on. This case shows how evil can hide behind a face whom society sees as the savior. But what do you think Mahendra deserves as punishment now? And there's one more thing that still puzzles me. With such a dark past, how did Kruthika or her family never check his background? Was he chasing women for desire or for money? And how do two brothers behave like this while the family stays silent? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more.